Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Hi guys, we have to wrap up the last part of it. It's been a long time, so let's just get through the end and then hopefully I won't disappear as much. I don't know, it's been really difficult to get back into the swing of it. So, chapter 21 is Under the City. We have an excerpt from its perspective. Quote, "Before the universe, there had been only two things. One was itself, and the other was the turtle. The turtle was a stupid old thing that never came out of its shell." Page 965. I find its perspective to be very, very interesting. And there's a huge passage between pages 965 to 967 that I highly recommend reading. So, the kids are climbing through the gross sewer, and I hate gross stuff like that. I don't mind blood and gore and guts, but waste and grime, I can't do that. So it from 1985 still feels fear from when the kids heard it. We find out that Tom and Audra have both seen it in its true form, and Tom couldn't handle it. He broke, he died, he was just done. Audra goes into this coma. She's catatonic. So the sewer is like a labyrinth. Like we discussed, there's no blueprint, there's nothing down there that gives any kind of logical structure. It's all just a jumble of tunnels, things that are ancient and probably didn't get built by humans. And there's a little door. The kids fight a huge eyeball and a bird in this tunnel. Henry's still yelling after them. They get to the door that has a mark on it, and quote, "There was a mark on the door, and heaped at its foot was a pile of bones, small bones, the bones of God alone knew how many children. They had come to the place of it." Page 988. And each kid sees something different in this symbol on the door. So it's kind of like an ink blot test. Everyone sees something different and scary that is personal to them. They get to the place where they had fought the eye before. George appears and goes after Bill. And it's really similar to how Gage is when he comes back in Pet Sematary. The vibe is very much the same. Georgie is like evil Gage. And it's really creepy. So this time, Derry is getting torrential rain. Sewer pipes are exploding, shrapnel is flying, the town is in complete chaos. Mike wakes up and the nurse tries to kill him. Bill somehow senses this and they all send their collected power out to Mike to help him, and he ends up knocking this person out with a huge glass water pitcher in the hospital room. The adults go into the lair of it and everything comes back to them. They remember everything. And we see it is in its massive spider form and it's pregnant. Chapter 22, The Ritual of Chud. The kids are in its lair. Bill and the spider begin the ritual and it throws Bill out of his body and they are psychically connected, intertwined in their minds. Bill sees the turtle, the creator of the universe, and manages to stop it before reaching the abyss, where he'll be eternally trapped and helpless. He bites down on its tongue in his mind and yells without stuttering. Bill slams back into his body, the spider is dying, its web falls down all around the kids. Bill wants to follow it to make sure it's dead, but he doesn't. No one else seems to really want to pursue it. He does see doubt on Bev and Stan's faces, but they all end up leaving. So as an adult, Bill tries to perform the same ritual as what I just mentioned. When they're kids, they're in the lair. And he fails. So he's cast out past the turtle, who is now dead, and toward the deadlights. And just as he's going over the edge, Richie manages to engage it in Chud, while it's distracted by Bill. So now it's up to Richie. So that's an interesting take, because before it had been Bill who was the leader, and now it was unexpectedly Richie who gets to prove himself. Richie starts losing his grip. Eddie uses his aspirator and shoves it in the spider's face, and he gets his arm bitten, which I love. I love this because it's a symmetry between Bill's real brother, George, who got his arm ripped off, and Eddie, who is like his adopted brother. I don't know, there's a very bittersweet similarity between the two. There's a nice parallel, and it's very heartwarming and heart-wrenching. So Eddie dies. It's very final, very tragic, but also very natural. Quote, Eddie closed his eyes, thinking how to finish, and while he was still thinking it over, he died. Page 1021. Back to the kids. They're lost in the dark sewer. Their bond is dissolving now that it has been killed or wounded. So Bev decides that the only way that they're going to get through this is to rekindle their bond. And the way she chooses to do this is by offering herself up sexually so that they can all be connected through that intimate act. And they are children, but they fumble their way through it. It's not gratuitous and perverted and creepy. They're all the same age. They're all hitting puberty. It is a little bizarre, but I'm not as disturbed about it as a lot of people seem to be. So we'll leave that there. So Derry is just getting demolished by the storm. Flooding is imminent. The standpipe falls. Just a whole bunch of shit is getting upended and destroyed, which is good in a way. It's purging the evil from Derry a little bit. And we have Bill and Richie trapping it. They pummel it with all their might. Bill destroys it by squeezing its heart as hard as he can, which is really gross and really a really good passage. Quote, there was one final shriek of pain and fear as its heart exploded between his hands, running out between his fingers in jittering strings. Page 1047. Ben is crushing the eggs, the gross eggs that the spider has dropped. Bill carries Richie, who's passed out. They meet up with Ben. Richie regains consciousness. They get back to Bev. Bill carries Audra, who's catatonic. They leave Eddie outside the lair. They can't bring him up, which is sad. And the mark on the door is gone. They make it out of the tunnels with Bill leading the way. No orgy this time. Their scars have faded away on their palms. The four of them hold hands, and Bev sees Eddie and Stan added to their reflection in the door once they get out. And they're in a downtown area with a window. And at the end of this, we have the kids doing their ritual where they cut their palms and all stood together in a circle and solidified their bond and made their promise to come back should it ever reappear. Then we have Derry, the last interlude. Mike is still in the hospital. Bill and Audra are staying in his house. Bev and Ben are leaving together. Richie is already gone, and everyone is forgetting now, even Mike. So whereas before Mike had been the keeper of the knowledge, he now is not required to do that because it is really finally truly gone. Quote, this forgetting, the prospect fills me with panic, but it also offers a sneaking sort of relief. It suggests to more than anything else that this time they really did kill it, that there is no need of a watchman to stand and wait for the cycle to begin again. Page 1072. Mike calls Richie, who at first doesn't even recognize his voice. Quote, that long-distance silence fell again, all the miles between Maine and California. I believe we were both thinking the same thing. It was over, yes, and in 6 weeks or 6 months, we will have forgotten all about each other. It's over, and all it's cost us is our friendship and Stan and Eddie's lives. Page 1075. And that's so touching, so sad. Their friendship was so pure and wholesome, and now they won't even have that. Mike's names, addresses, phone numbers, his manuscript, everything is starting to fade, and he said that he could continue to rewrite it and preserve it that way, but eventually he won't even remember why he's transcribing it. And then we have the epilogue. So now Bill can't even remember why Audra's catatonic. He knows he's supposed to do something, and he knows his chance of doing it is limited. He puts Audra on Silver, and she kind of puts her arms around him on her own, which is an encouraging sign. Quote, Bill closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the soft, dead weight of his wife behind him, feeling the hills somewhere ahead of him, feeling his own heart inside him. Page 1085. So he takes off on Silver with Audra behind him. So he has a death-defying trip downtown, which wakes Audra up, and she starts squeezing him, and she's very aware of what is happening. And it wraps up with what I think is really beautiful, and it goes in perfectly with Stephen King's philosophy about life is pretty much a wheel. Quote, to think that what has looked forward must also look back, and that each life makes its own imitation of immortality, a wheel. Or so Bill Denbrough sometimes thinks on those early mornings after dreaming, when he almost remembers his childhood and the friends with whom he shared it. Page 1090. And I don't know, this book is so bittersweet. I love this book. I think it's so good. Have a spooky day.